Good night. Yes, good night. Good night, St. Martin. Good night to the wider world. Good night to everyone logged on now to www.SXMTalk radio. Good night to the whole entire St. Martin. Of course, this is live and serious discussion. I'm your host, Christopher Emmanuel, and we have a very, very interesting guest, a past guest, and we brought him back because many people said, hey, it was too short. We learned so much during that time. We want to have him back. But before I bring in my guest, let me talk about and say thank you to everyone out there who sent in all their wishes and congratulations and their thanks and, you know, what we should and what we should not do. To all our friends who's listening, I got to send a special, special thumbs up and big up to a very special friend of mine in Stacia. You know who he is, but we're going to leave it there. We're going to be doing some good work very, very soon. Good night. I know you have your people and them listening. Good night to everyone. Yes, this is SXM Talk. We are back. We are different. We have our website up. I'm encouraging everyone to get on to the chat room, get on to the station, log on, view the past shows that we have, because we are ready to service. We are ready to interact. We are ready to disseminate. We are ready to bring this information to everything that is happening on St. Martin, everything that is going on in the former Netherlands and Antilles, because we have some interesting events, interesting situations going on right now. But without further ado, I'm happy because I have a very good friend of mine here with me in the studio. We're going to be getting down to some serious discussion. We're going to be talking about finances. We're going to be talking about monies. We're going to be talking about the current events, the current financial situation of the islands, the former Netherlands and Antilles. We are seeing changes. And we have the best person, because I consider him, okay, one of the most intellectual individuals when it comes to finances on St. Martin, when it comes to finances within the former Netherlands and Antilles, and also the wider world. I'm here with a very good friend of mine, a past guest, Emilio Kalmera. Good night and welcome to the program.
Thanks, Chris. It's good to be here again.
So tell me, Emilio, what is going on? What is happening? What do you think about the new look? What do you think about the different styles and everything that we have in the studio?
I'm very impressed, actually. I mean, it's a big step up from the last time I was here. And it goes to show, you know, when people are serious of getting things done, you know, I'm really, really impressed, to be honest.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is just, and, you know, the good thing about this, Emilio, is the hands that have been on deck are individuals that donate their time, donate their monies, donate their equipment, and they just say that they like it. They like it. I know some individuals went home and went sleep 2 and 3 this morning, getting us up to par, getting us ready. Look at the website. I mean, everybody's impressed. Everybody is liking it. You know, I got a shout out to my girl, Apollonia, from SXM Millie. This girl is doing some wonderful things as a student. So big ups to her. But Emilio, like I said, we are here and we are here to talk about finances. We are here to talk about the current event, the current financial situation of the former Netherlands and Antilles. We know that Curacao is going through a political, I wouldn't want to call it a crisis right now, but a political situation. And we are hearing the little rumors about the central bank and moving away and wanting to do things on their own. We're also going to talk about a bit about the bond that was issued for the so-called Causeway Bridge and the impact it's going to have on St. Martin. We're going to talk about monies. And in the beginning, before we went on, you know, I asked you about this name and this individual and this finance and this system, right? And the reason why I asked this question is simply because I want to break it down when it comes to money. And I know you're a money guy, right? But let's get into the discussion. Let's get into the program, Emilio. And I was reading an article one day, and the article said there are only 3 countries in the world that is not under the grasp of the Rothschild financing system. 3 countries. I could remember 2, North Korea, Iran, and I can't remember the third one. Who is Rothschild? What is Rothschild? What is money linked to these individuals? What does it mean when you hear the name Rothschild?
Well, basically, Rothschild is basically the banking dynasty. They came up with the concept of the fractional reserve banking system. And basically what they did, they started off in Germany, and they spread out to England, went down to the States, and basically almost every country in the world used their system. It's called the fractional reserve system. The system has basically, if you see what's happening in the world today, it's basically a consequence of the fractional reserve banking system. You know, it's a system that have a theoretical limit, and basically the world have basically reached that limit of expansion. And right now what you're seeing is something called deleveraging, meaning the system is crashing under its own weight. Of course, there are ways to mitigate those risks, but it involves, the concept of sharing and giving back to society. And the problem is with our greedy world, that's just not going to happen.
Let's bring it home to our countries. Let's bring it home to our islands, because yes, as much as I want to focus and primarily deal with St. Martin, but we can't get away from us being part of a system, part of a coalition that we were for almost 50, going to almost 60 years, right? Let's take it within the former Netherlands Antilles right now. We're talking about Curacao, Bonaire, Sable Station, and St. Martin. Financially, Emilio, based on your experience, based on your knowledge, based on your know-how, based on the things that you're seeing going on, are we, as the former Netherlands Antilles, on good standing, on good footing when it comes to finances, when it comes to our monies?
Well, to be honest, remember since the Netherlands Antilles collapsed, but we're still using the Netherlands Antilles guilder. Besides the issue with our shrinkage of dollar reserves, you realize that we're still using guilders without a problem. So obviously, the guilder is not really the issue. The good thing about our system is our system operates as if it is a gold standard. Why?
What does that mean?
Basically, back in the days, America was considered the largest economy. So what they did, each country decided to peg their currency to the United States dollar, providing that the dollar could be converted into 35 ounces of gold. So basically what you had was that if I decide, you know what, I don't want that dollar anymore, I can go by any central bank and say I want to convert my money back to 35 ounces of gold. So basically money, the United States dollar used to be backed by gold. So therefore it had true value. What we did in St. Martin when you have a peg is technically you peg your currency against, in our case, against the dollar, but it also means that you cannot print as you want. You cannot print some of your own money as you would. Same thing with the gold standard. It meaning if I had only 35 ounces of gold, I was only allowed to print up to $1. If I want to print $2, I had to actually come up with another 35 ounces of gold in order to print the additional dollar. We operate with a peg, it operates the same way. If I want to print, let's say, 1 guilder 79, I have to have a dollar to back that. If I want to print 2 times guilder 79, I have to back it by $2. You see? So therefore, it prevents you from printing too much of money, okay? Because you have to always back it by, in our case, against the dollar.
Okay, let me see if I get you correct and I understand you. You said it prevents us, and when you say us, you mean the former Netherlands Antilles, we the islands here, or the islands within the Caribbean, because when you look at places like Guyana and Jamaica, they have printed a tremendous amount of money that have devalued their currency. So, I mean, are you speaking on behalf of us here as the former Netherlands Antilles or within the Caribbean?
No, within the Netherlands Antilles, because other countries, other Caribbean islands don't have the currency pegged. I think maybe for the EC dollar, it's pegged maybe, but for us, for sure, we are pegged. That's why we never had that issue with our currency devaluing.
Is it a good thing to have your dollar pegged or not? Is it?
It's a pro and a con to it. One of the pros is that it prevents you from printing too much of money, providing you could back it up by, in our case, by the number of dollars. And if you can't do that, then you have to keep your currency as is. You cannot go print additional. That's one of the beauty of it. So that's where your currency always remain intact. The problem you have is if the currency that you're backing your money by starts to lose value, then it becomes a problem. Because in essence, American dollar don't have any value. Actually, most currencies in the world don't have any value because it's not backed by anything. You know?
Wait. Let me stop you and slow you down a bit there.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that the In God We Trust, the greenback, the mighty dollar, has no value? What does that mean?
It doesn't have a value.
What does that mean?
Look, remember what I told you back in the days. Let me give you a little textbook history, right? There are three functions of historical money. Why? I'll explain what I mean by historical money. First of all, money was supposed to be a medium of exchange, a store of value, and a measure of value. The tricky thing is that commodity money, what is commodity money? Commodity money could be tobacco. You know, something was backed. Remember back in the days we did trade.
We trade with tobacco.
So
and
you could add something that's backed by tobacco. It's backed by silver. It's backed by gold. So that in itself, so gold in itself as a commodity, it can serve to be a medium of exchange.
It's backed by something that has a value, though.
Yeah, because
Okay.
gold in itself is value.
Right.
So therefore, gold or tobacco, grain, all of them by itself could be a medium of exchange. That's one. It's a store of value because grain, I mean, you can put grain in anything. It's also a measure of value because, you know, grain is a value because humans need to eat. You know, we can eat it. So therefore, commodity money serve all three purposes. But when money went over to credit, meaning that the convertibility is no longer there, so it's just a paper, right? How do you measure that?
When you say it went over to credit,
Yeah.
right? I need you to break it down a bit for me. What does it mean when you said it went over to credit, and who carried it over to credit?
What happened in the past was that during the Bretton Woods Agreement, that's the agreement where the countries back.
That's what I want you to get at.
Yeah.
That agreement, yeah.
When countries decided to back their currency by the dollar, providing the dollar hold its convertibility to 35 ounces of gold, what happened was that America needed to fund the war. And remember what I told you, because America didn't have enough gold to back all the money to print to fund the war, Nixon decided, you know what, I'm going to abandon this agreement. So without notifying his peers, his other countries, that he's going to do this, he decided, you know what, I'm going to start printing money to fund the war. So what he did, he break that agreement in theory. And that's when he started to print more money than what there was in gold
what they had in
to
gold
back
in
it.
reserve.
Right. And how they started to deplete the American reserves, France got a hold of it first, I believe. France said, but wait, America's printing a lot of money. So France said, you know what? All my dollars, what I have now, America, hey, here's your dollars. Give me back the gold convertibility for it. So they gave it to France. Then England decided, hey, France just did that, let me do the same. And when they start to do that now, America realized, oh, I don't have enough gold to give these people them. So that's when they abandoned it and they decide even the simple gold that Americans had, they even took it away from them. You see, so basically when they took away that convertibility, money just became an IOU, backed by the government.
So then basically we all are walking around with our wallets with hundreds of dollars and tens of thousands of dollars in it, and it has no value?
That's correct. And what makes it even more difficult is because it's not backed by anything.
Emilio, you're scaring me.
Yeah.
You're scaring me. Because my little $400 that I have on my savings account, you are telling me that worth nothing?
It doesn't have any value. That's why money is manipulated so much now, especially in the foreign exchange market. One day, one dollar would worth something else or something else, and another day is worth something else. Remember, one of the things of money was it's supposed to be a measure of value. But if that measure keeps fluctuating, what am I measuring? I can convert from 12 inches is 1 foot, because we set that standard.
Yeah.
No, before we also had that standard with the dollar. The dollar was equal to 35 ounces of gold. So that was a measure as well.
That was a measure.
Now when you abandon it, what are you measuring?
So there's no leverage. There's nothing to say, well, a dollar equals this.
No.
There's nothing to measure it by.
There's nothing to measure it by.
I get it.
And that what makes it so complicated, because now $1, if you had $1 today, could have buy, let's say, Apple, for example. And then a week, a month after, that $1 can't even buy one apple. It loses its value. And what makes it lose its value, which I'll explain in a short while, is that every time you put more money into circulation, the existing money that is here loses its value.
Right. I understand that. But then, okay, if we take it from that example that you're giving and this reasoning that you're giving, and this is the reason why I primarily say our first show, we must get Emilio back, because there's a cry right now, and there's a talk right now of dollarize, 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 dollarize. I had some friends from Stacia here in St. Martin, and they are telling me that prices in Statia right now with a dollar is enormous. It's skyrocketed. They can't believe what is going on because they have dollarized. And you know, they would go to the store and something that cost a guilder, basically just the symbol of the guilder change, and now they have the symbol of the dollar. So everything seems to be so expensive. They decided, and we are talking about Sabre Station, but they decided not to go with a guilder. They decided not to go with a euro, and here they are with a dollar. But they're saying, listen, the dollar is hurting. We in Statia, we in Sabre, we in Bonaire. If that is the case, Emilio, why are we looking to dollarize? And you're hearing the leaders talking about dollarization.
What is goose? What would I say? What is good for the goose is not necessarily good for the gander. Huh? Dollarization affects people in different ways. I remember I said that in the last show as well.
Right.
If you are American living in St. Martin, or maybe not necessarily living fully, but you're partially in St. Martin and partially elsewhere, of course dollarization makes sense to you, because your eggs are not really, all your eggs are not really in St. Martin. But if you live in St. Martin and you depend on St. Martin only primarily, if you dollarize, you know what I mean, you're going to be affected more, unless you become an entrepreneur or somebody who produces stuff. But if you primarily become somebody who's working for somebody, you're going to get hit hard. Okay?
Why?
I'm going to explain you what the problem is with the dollar, but I have to give a simple example.
Yeah.
Myself, you, and let's say the gentleman behind the scenes over
Engineer.
there, engineer, in a life raft, right? Now I'm hungry and he's hungry, and you said I have an apple. You have an apple, and you say, boy, I'm willing to sell one of you guys an apple for $1. So just then I put my hand in my pocket and I say, hey, I have $1. So how much did the apple go for, you think? Of course, $1, right?
Right.
Just then, gentleman in the scenes over there said, hey, I have wait a minute, I have $10 in my wallet. How much do you think the apple sells for?
Going for the 10. Going
Why?
for the highest bidder.
Why? It's the same apple.
Yeah, but now I have more money. All
Right.
of a sudden now more money is there.
Right.
So the value of the apple gone up.
Are you sure the value of the apple went up?
Well,
Okay, let me
okay, not the value of the apple, but the
stick to
greed
that.
of the.
Hold on to that then. What if just then the guy said, oh, but I have another apple here. So then what you have two apples now selling for $10. That means a while ago, one apple was $10. Now I bring another apple into the picture. Then you have one apple is basically $5 a piece now, right?
Right.
Then all of a sudden he's finding another apple. He keep going on until he found 10 apples. Then you have 10 apples divided by $10. It drop right back down to the dollar again.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You're the finance man.
Let me
You
explain
tell
what
me.
happened. What's happening is this. The more money there is in circulation, then the number of goods and services to back it up, right, causes inflation. Remember what happened just now? There was one apple. It was $1 initially, so the apple sold for $1. All of a sudden now, $10 came into circulation because he came with, I don't know where he got it from, but he got the $10. So that same apple now went from being $1 selling for $10.
And then he got two apples.
You got two apples now. It's not $10 an apple anymore. It dropped to $5 an apple. Okay? As you bring in more apples into the market, the price starts to drop. So ideally, what banks should actually do, and government should also correct this, that anytime money is being put into new money, is being put into circulation, the
interest rates and stuff should go down.
No, the number of goods and services also should increase to absorb that extra money. If that's not the case, that's happening all over the world. More money is being put into the money supply, but not enough production or not enough goods and services to absorb the increase. Therefore, that new money steals value from the existing money. So what you're seeing as money prices going up means it's not really prices going up, it's the value of your money going down.
Okay. So then, what would I tell my friend in Statia to solve that issue that they have in Statia? They should get more grocery stores and more services.
Increase production.
More competition and stuff
Increase
like that.
production and primarily try to do it. The products primarily try to generate those products locally. Why I say that? Because even if you bring a supermarket, like let's say I bring a franchise into Sabre, where most of the money have to flow for the products.
It have to flow in Statia.
No, but you have to buy the stuff from overseas.
Yeah, of course, most will be coming from here and going to Statia overseas.
So you still might not solve the problem 100%. You might solve it somewhat by increasing the productivity to absorb the money, which is good. But at the same time, you should try, ideally also try to produce, like, for example, let's say if I have a hamburger place, try to make sure you get the lettuce from, I mean, look, Angola doing lettuce. You have beef, you got a cow, right? You butcher a cow. So try to get as much as possible the local produce. Right, therefore the money don't have to flow out. You see what I mean? The more money that stays in your own economy and circulates, the better. It's same thing like, one of the biggest problems we have now is we have decoupled money and community. Actually, community and money is one and the same thing. But when you decouple it, when you take it away.
What does decoupling mean?
Decouple means, for example, let's say I grew up in Angola. And everyone in my village was basically a community, meaning that when you didn't have, I had, and we circulate money back and forth.
Right.
That was money. It was like bartering, but it was in essence money. What's happening now, that concept of local village circulation is basically gone. So what we tend to do is that I don't need to depend on you no more. Back in the days, I used to depend on you. Let's say use a farmer. I engineer. You depend on me to get your stuff, and I depend on you. So the interdependency was very vital back in those days. But now, if I can hire somebody from the States, I don't need you no more. You understand? So that interdependency is not there anymore. That's one aspect. And the decoupling of money is that, remember, money and community is one and the same thing. I don't know if you understand that concept.
I understand what you're saying. However, I mean, but this is a small island. So they can only produce so much things.
Exactly. Right? But you need to first look at this. Why does Chinese people always go into the same type of business?
Yeah. Why is that?
Basic need. You see, the Chinese person always know that once you tap into the basic need, come low, come high. I don't care if you're a Vlon, a Caribbean, whatever. I know for a fact that at the end of the day, basic needs is always going to generate me money. That's why the Chinese always don't go into the supermarket business. Okay? So what you primarily want to do in any community, in a village, for example, in a village setting, you want to make sure that the basic needs are produced locally. And basic needs, if you tell me you cannot produce basic needs, then you have a problem. You have a serious problem. You can't produce basic needs. A car is not a basic need. So if you want to bring that in, of course, be my guest. Who wants to produce a car here anyhow?
A bakery.
A bakery. Yeah. A butcher. You know what I mean? Even engineering to some degree is a basic need.
Let's bring it home a bit, Emilio, and let's talk about St. Martin, right? And the question is simple. Are we financially stable in St. Martin? Is our finances looking good in St. Martin?
No, because we are flow-through economy. What happens is you have basically like big companies coming here, and they're not coming here to help our society. Yes, they say they might give you jobs, okay? But where that most of that money comes, it comes in, they produce a service, they collect our money, and the money flows right back out. So it's not a society where the money comes in and does its work primarily here. Okay, they use here as like a hub, capture the money flow, and it goes right back out again.
So we are not looking good financially because our money is leaving the countries, but yet we have these multinational corporations and companies coming in to St. Martin, and the money is flowing out, right? But Emilio, we have an open economy, we have a capitalist society, we have a free market economy. I mean, this is what you hear from economists on the island. This is what you hear from the leaders on the island. We have a free market economy, so money is flowing.
That's all good and dandy, but at the end of the day, let's say you have a situation where you open your harbor, right? The ideal thing for a harbor to prevent, let's say you make like a breakwater, you cut it off, that in case a flood come in, that breakwater will limit the hit. So, but at the end of the day, the free market, you have to go, to get into the harbor, you have to come around and go in. What I'm trying to say is you have to do the same thing in a community. Yes, you have it, an open market, but you also have to protect the locals, especially in a small community. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, when you born here, you grew up here, practically speaking, where else are you going to go?
Right.
No other country in the world is accept, how we accept a lot of people. A lot of other countries don't do that. Huh? I am a belonger of Angola. My mother's Angolan. I'm a belonger. If I go to apply for a job in National Bank of Angola, You think I'm gonna get a job so easy?
Not over Anguillan.
No.
No.
You know what I mean? So what you have, ideally, what you want to try to do. I'm not against any foreigners, of
No,
course.
but it's positive discrimination, they would call it.
It's positive. It's for a reason, because at the end of the day, when I make money in St. Martin, I'm gonna spend it in St.
St.
Martin.
Martin.
Okay? Unless, of course, you can't produce certain things over here, then they're ordered overseas. Or if it's too expensive here because of whatever reason, then you tend to order things overseas. But ideally speaking, when you're in a village always look at each other and support each other. That village concept has to be strong.
Then, Emilio, then my next question would be simple. Should we be worried here in St. Martin if our finances are not good? Because one of the major or most famous saying from the Rothschild banking system, let me control your money, and I don't care who makes the laws and the rules. And if that is the case, should we be worried as residents, as citizens, as St. Martiners in this country? Should we be worried about our finances?
We should be worried about the income distribution. The problem with our income distribution, about 60%, maybe a little less than 60% our working population earns less than 2,500 guilders a month. Okay, over 60%. Then you have from 60 to about another 20%, right? Earned between 2,005 to about 5,000, and then so basically what you're seeing happening is that we don't have a normal distribution. What is a normal distribution? A normal distribution means ideally you're supposed to have some persons on the left that are below, a number of persons on the right are also equally, so you have it's equally balanced. What we're seeing now in St. Martin is like this. So you have on the left, skew to the left, meaning you have basically you have more people that are poor than people that have something in St. Martin. And if that continues to worsen, we're going to have serious problems. Okay? We're going to have serious problems.
Emilio, this is a very serious discussion. I mean, I'm listening to what you're saying, and so many things are going through my mind, because we are seeing that we are living in a society where, and you hear this all over the world, the rich are getting richer. The rich want more. The poor are getting poorer. We need more wealth distribution. We are seeing Occupy Wall Street. We are seeing pensions being touched. I mean, throughout the whole world, when you have the G8 meetings and stuff, there are protests, there are marches. Something seems to be wrong in the world. And right here in St. Martin, you were saying, if we continue on this trend where there's a off balance, the scale is tipping just to one side, then things is going to become dire.
Yeah.
But Emilio, right now as it is, people are crying.
Mm-hmm.
People are hurting. People are saying something is wrong. But yet, you see the lifestyle and the illusion. You see the new cars rolling out from the car dealership. You see the lifestyle that many are living, and you would say things are all right in St. Martin.
Well, but of course, things are all right for the persons who are selling those things, and the fools who are buying them is the ones getting jeopardized. But some people would say, if I go for by the bank for a home mortgage, you can't qualify for a home mortgage because your money is too little to qualify. But they can qualify for a vehicle, so they tend to go with a vehicle. You understand? So this is like the same stories over and over and over. What I'm telling people, the only way that you can beat this system or lower the playing field is by a number of things. First of all, where you spend your money is critical. That's one aspect. Secondly, if an airline flies with only me in the airline, is it making money?
No.
Why not?
You're the only one. They can't maintain the cost of flying the airline just by having one individual. I mean, the fuel, the maintenance. I mean, how are they going to do it?
Correct. So which means they need what? Volume, right?
They need volume. They need more people to travel,
Right.
more people to fly.
Right. Now, I just now said 60% of our working population earns less than 2,500 guilders. Well, you know, if they're buying that little bit that they have, they can do some serious damage, huh?
But Emilio, someone is benefiting from 60% of the population making less than 2,500 guilders a month. Someone, some group, some entity. I mean, the economy seems to be flowing. It seems to be moving. And things seems to be getting done. off of the backs of the 60% of the
It's
population.
always been that way. It's the same mentality as in the past when you have the kings and the peasants or whatever. How do you think the kings survived? If it wasn't for the peasants working the ground to feed and then paying their taxes to feed the kings, they would never be able to survive. You catch? Because remember, you have a larger amount of peasants than you have the kingship. And the kingship basically could only be sustained by those peasants working the ground. And so basically you have a system that never really evolved. You have technology evolving. That's why technology is getting more efficient, because it's evolving. But the man-made system of domination and power, whatever, it didn't evolve to something new. It just keeps transforming itself, but the concept remained the same. You see what I mean?
Let me throw this one out at you, Emilio, because I need to know. Do you see, and given the nature of us here in St. Martin, the people and the way we operate, do you see things getting worse in terms of more layoffs happening similar to what we see down at Pelican? Do you see the pension funds being touched and can be paid to workers who have been working in industries for a number of years? We see the massive layoff that's happening at Telem, where a number of senior employees have been sent home. I mean, we are seeing these things, we are hearing these things, right? You said that it's going to get scary. Would there be massive protests and marches here in St. Martin?
Yes. Sadly, though, people tend not to be in solidarity with their brethren. It's only when their pocket are touched is then they, let's be in solidarity with their brethren. It will get worse in St. Martin if primarily if the government don't go back into the banking business.
What do you mean by that? Go back into the banking business?
Who money belongs to? Money is a community something, right?
Right.
Remember, when we decide to alleviate bartering, we decide to choose. Eventually, we choose the money aspect of it. But at the end of the day, money is any medium of exchange used in order to alleviate bartering, right? But it was agreed upon. It was agreed upon by the community in order to accept something as a medium of exchange, and that's something that agreed to accept was money. So in essence, money is a community agreement amongst the community to accept something as a medium of exchange. How in God's name you going to leave a private institution control that? Then it's not community anymore. You see? And that's what's happening all over the world, because the community.
Yeah, but you need the banks, Emilio.
You don't
need
need
the bank because people. So then, what
no.
you're saying is that we should go back to the system where we have our savings under the mattress, or we have it in a tin pan and we dig a hole and we. I mean, the banks are there for a reason. Poor people can't build homes.
No,
they can't get loans.
Right, the banks are there for a reason, but not to issue or create new money. You understand what I'm saying? They shouldn't be there to do that. Government should be there to do that. That if you read the American Constitution, it wasn't the Federal Reserve was as authorized to create the money supply for the people, huh? Is that the United States Treasury was authorized to do that. They outsourced it to the Federal Reserve. And I'm gonna explain you what the problem is. Let's say, Christopher, I borrow you $100, and I tell you at the end of 2 months I want you to pay me back that $100 plus $20 extra. Okay? Now you take the $100 and you pay your brethren back there $50. So you have 50, he have 50. Now at the end of 2 months you have to pay me back not only the $100
plus 20.
but 20. But remember, we here, let's say all three of us form a community. How much money I initially was in this community? $100.
Right.
Where in the heck you can get a $20 to pay me back extra from? Where you can get it back from?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the money supply. Therefore, globalization have helped kind of like stabilize that, because let's say like a tourist comes in now, right? And he brings in money. Ooh, you're lucky, because then you could extract that money from him. But what if that tourist never come? Where I'm going to get that $20 extra to pay back? Where you can get that extra money to pay me back with? Either I have to create that money again, right? Which can cause the similar effect again, right? Or it has to come from somewhere else, outside of the community. You see? So what's happening is, even though you have globalization, you have tourists coming here, and they're bringing the money for us, but it leaves a hole somewhere else. So it doesn't matter global. That's why the whole world is basically indebted to itself, because it doesn't matter if they bring the money and we sweet. it leaves a gap somewhere else. It always leaves a gap. So it's like a game of musical chairs.
Emilio, people would say, this young man sounds good. I like the things that he is saying, but we could never go broke because we got the big country Holland behind us, and whenever our finances get out of hand, whenever our debt get big, they have an obligation to send down euros and pay off. We have a number of NGOs that comes down here and, is millions of guilders and millions of euros they are helping out with projects and stuff. We are still a colony, so Holland has an obligation to pay off our debt, so our finances will always be good. What would you say to that?
You believe that? Holland now is surfing problems. Okay, look what's happening here. We had NGOs like Cultura, for example, giving out funding. You apply, but then you get funding. Now they're closing down Cultura. Waiting to close down Cultura. The funding is not there anymore. So everything now is getting tight. Holland right now have a problem with housing, huh? Right?
Yeah.
The market has basically crashed. Okay? So everybody's tightening and tightening and tightening. You see what I mean? So I don't want to rely too much on the outside too much.
I was speaking to a young lady and she said she can't wait to go back Holland, because soon they'll be going back to the guilder, because that's the discussion right now. The euro is not working and they're going back to the guilder, and Europe is in trouble because Germany and France is keeping all the money for themselves, and many of the countries want to go back to the money that they had before. Do you see that happening?
I don't. Well, if they push it far enough, it probably will happen. But of course, you have other people who are benefiting, won't want it to happen. Back in my school days, I had to do a paper, and I chose about at the time the pound, and I explained the pound should stay out of the euro, and my teacher did not agree with me. Today, I wish I could find that paper because I can't remember the reasons I put in there.
You can't find the paper, maybe you can find a teacher.
Probably. But you see, it comes back to, again, what I was saying. You cannot decouple. Once you decouple money and community from each other, you have a problem. The euro is what? The euro does not just, when you take the euro, what does the euro have to do, for example, with Greece? What does it have to do with the Netherlands? What does it have to do with whatever, right? A community, the community of Greece is not the same community as the Netherlands, right? The Netherlands is not the same community as another European country, for example.
But they would say that they're all one. They're all one people, similar culture, similar everything. They're all Europe.
A Dutch person and a Greece person is totally different. Somebody from Spain and somebody from Holland, different. You know what I mean?
If that is the case, Emilio, many would say we are stronger together than being apart. That is what many would say. So how is it that 13 countries coming together, joining together, putting all their monies in one financial institution is not doing well?
Simply, if you have imbalances in each country, right? It's like, let's say, I decide to say, okay, I'm doing well in St. Martin, and then Haiti is not doing really bad. Leave the floodgates open. Let's Haiti, everybody. What can happen is, let's say we join Haiti, we say, okay, we make Haiti part of us that they can go freely back and forth. What do you think is going to happen?
All the Haitians, everyone from Haiti is going to come to St. Martin.
Why?
Because we are doing well here.
Right. So what I really should do before you adapt one currency is build up each person on an equal level.
Right.
It means then when I move to Haiti, it's not going to be for any economic reason. It's going to be maybe because maybe I like nature, or I like the size of the country. I like to drive in big countries or whatever. So that's the reason I want to move to, not because of economic reasons. From time you have, like I said again, imbalances, right? It's like air. If you move air with your hand, right, a rush of air comes in to fill it in to prevent a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with anything. If you have imbalances, one country is doing well, the other is doing bad, you make it equal in terms of anybody could flow. What are going to happen? You're going to have a bunch of people flowing to the way it's better. That's just normal. You know what I mean?
So do you see Holland saying we had enough of this euro and we going back to the guilder?
I think eventually it might be inevitable. They will have to do it. If things get worse with other European countries, I think Holland might think that's the best thing to do.
You know, many.
And not cutting you off, Holland can do it for the simple fact is Holland does produce stuff, huh? Holland have factories. They produce. You know, Holland has always been a producing country. You know, maybe eat the potatoes from Holland. I mean, Grandma Shea could pick up the potatoes. You have a bunch of stuff in Holland you could, from Grandma Shea that made in Holland that you can buy. So they wouldn't have a problem going back to the guilder. None at all.
Now, Emilio, now that we see, the breakup of the Netherlands Antilles, and we have the status for both St. Martin and Curacao, we are also hearing within the corridors of our leader that we as St. Martin should join CARICOM. We should become part of CARICOM. Let me ask you this question. In your opinion, given the expertise, given what you think about CARICOM and St. Martin, what would be the financial impact, the pros and cons, if St. Martin decide to become a full-fledged member of CARICOM?
I think it might be a disaster because the simple fact of what I said a while ago. The other countries other islands that are part of CARICOM, a lot of them are not on the same level as St. Martin, so to speak.
Are you saying that our standard of living are much higher than a lot of the CARICOM islands?
Of course. If you go to certain countries in the Caribbean, a lot of people doesn't want to come here for a particular reason. Not because their country is not nice. Huh? Trust me, there are a lot of Caribbean islands are nicer than St. Martin. If you look at the size, the naturalness,
the foods that are being produced,
exactly,
the rivers, the streams, the lakes, everything.
Right. But what they have a lack of
economic viability.
Economic viability. They see that in St. Martin. So what they tend to do is they make an investment, and that investment is to flow to St. Martin, capture that economic whatever for later to go back home to live in a paradise.
But I don't get it, and I would want to agree with you when you mention the economic viability, but I don't get it because let's take Guyana, let's take Jamaica, let's take a lot of these islands. They have factories. They produce a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
What do we produce here in St. Martin? I mean,
we produce tourism.
Economically, these countries has a number of factories. They are producing a number of things: bananas, sugars, natural produce, meat. I mean, so you mentioned that countries that have factories that produce the monies are valuable. What is it that we have here in St. Martin?
We have the dollar. The dollar is worth more back home than it's worth here, for example. For example, if I take $1 and go Santo Domingo with it, I can get much more goods and services.
But it's still a matter of exchange. It's still a matter of exchange.
It's still a matter of exchange. But if I know, right, if I know in Santo Domingo, let's say a piece of land is what, 10,000 pesos, right? For me, 10,000 pesos in Santo Domingo is almost impossible for me to get. But I know if it comes to St. Martin and work maybe a year and get more than that, right? In dollar, when I go down there and I carry my dollars, what do you think I'm gonna do? So what they do, they use remember I told you the foreign exchange market is one of the biggest markets in the world. Huh? It's even bigger than the stock market. It's bigger. Matter of fact, the GDP of America is turned over in the foreign exchange market every day. Just through and 95% of that is not even based on real trade. Huh? It's based purely on speculation. Companies buying and selling currencies and hedging currencies. That's all it's based on. So that's what I'm saying. So therefore, what you want to do is, ideally, if I can grab currencies from different countries and have them, I can utilize them at the right moment. Let's say if I had pounds to my exposure, I had the Swiss franc, I had all these currencies in my favor, I'll be wealthy. Why? Because when the market crashes or drops for another currency, I just use the pound, for example. When it's beneficial for me to use the euro, I use the euro. What do you think with French side? Why do you think most French people shop on the Dutch side?
Because the euro works for them when they come over here. They can change the euro.
Precise.
They get 1 point something for the euro and stuff like that.
Now let's say.
But then look at the condition of the French side.
Of course, because what the foolish thing that French people don't realize is that if you don't support your own economy, eventually, right, you're gonna end up that it's not gonna support you either.
Yeah, but you said a foolish thing. But it is me as an individual wanting my money to work for me.
But the same.
So why would I go to the grocery store on the French side with my euro for a bread that costs €1.50 when I can come to the Dutch side for the same bread that costs $1.50?
I'm glad you said that.
I want value. I want the bang for my buck.
Correct. For the same reason why someone from Guyana would come here to work, to get the dollar, to get the bang for the buck and go back home. You see, so the same thing what the French people are doing, same thing anybody else. That's why I'm saying CARICOM can work, but providing that everyone is lifted up on the same equal footing. As besides that, it would never work. It can never work, because what you're going to get, a swarm of people going where it's beneficially more economically viable. You see? And believe me, Samartan exceeded the current capacity already. So trust me, we can't hold anybody else on this island. Huh? And right now we have a lot of professionals or people from Holland wants to come back here. But come back to what really? What are they coming back to? There's not enough space. There's not enough. If you keep building homes like how we building like crazy, you know what I mean? Eventually the quality of life is not going to be there anymore. You see what I mean? And that's what's happening here.
Right. Like I said, it's one of our most intellectual individuals when it comes to finances. I like discussing with my brethren. I like discussing with my friend Emilio because he has a vast knowledge when it comes to monies, when it comes to how things should be done. Emilio, let's take this issue that we are seeing happening right now. We are looking at our partner, our friend, our brother, our neighbor, Curacao, and they are going through a political crisis right now, if I should call it that, where the government fell. And, saying that will be another major discussion we'll be having here on SXMTalk, the system that we are living in, because we see the government of the Netherlands Antilles fall. We see the government in Statia fall. We see the government in Bonaire fall. The government in St. Martin fall. And now we are seeing the fall of the government in Curacao. So similarly, we can say that something is wrong with the system.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it something wrong with the politicians? However, St. Martin and Curacao was operating with one central bank. And we are hearing from in the corridors that they want to go on their own Curacao, they want to have their own monies, they want to do their own thing. What will be the financial impact, Emilio, for St. Martin if this is to happen? Because elections in Curacao is right around the corner in October. What will be the financial impact for St. Martin? Are we benefiting right now from the central bank, from the monies, from the gold? I mean, what is it really?
Well, the honest problem we will have is, you see, between the Bonaire, St. Martin, and Curacao, we have something called economies of scale, meaning that with all of us together, it was easy to have a currency. Now, if you decide to abandon that and decide to go for our own currency, it's going to be tricky, because you have a small island with its own, developing its own currency. Now, that's not necessarily a huge problem, providing that you have people who will manage that money properly and also maybe back it by something. Okay? When I say back it by something, if we decide to invest, let's say, in renewable energy, so then what we could do is back our money that we create by renewable energy and by real estate. I brought this.
It must be backed by something. I saw.
Yeah, I brought this real estate book called Real Estate Deals in St. Martin. And if anyone, you can pick up one by Grand Marché. If you pick up this book and you add up all the prices you're seeing here, for example, Simpson Bay, $285,000, Coal Bay, $270,000. If you add up all the prices of these real estate, I showed it's going to be a heck of a lot of money just for a sample of our real estate prices here. It means that something we have here is
is a value.
It's a value. You understand? And of course, a lot of this are not owned by locals, of course. A lot of it is owned by foreigners. Therefore, the demand for our real estate seems to be quite high. Even if it's speculative, it seems to be quite high. So I can imagine if you back the currency that you make by real estate, I mean, you should do okay. You know what I mean?
But you mentioned it's not owned by us. So even if we back it here, our monies will be leaving, because these things doesn't own.
But then what you do when you back it? This is what you do. For example, a lot of these things are priced in U.S. dollar. Personally, if we had said, for example, you cannot buy no property in St. Martin in dollars, you have to convert your dollar into guilder. What that means is that the demand for your guilder would have shoot to the roof. And when your demand for simple economics says, when the demand of something rises, right, the value of it does what?
The demand goes up.
If the demand of something goes up, what's the value? The value is also going to go up.
The value goes up.
Meaning that if all these Americans want to buy property, I said, no problem, bring your dollars, but you have to convert it into guilders. So we're going to give you guilders. So what's happening is, with their dollar, they come by us and say, hey, I want your guilder to buy the property, because remember, you can't buy the property in dollars. So the value of your currency would stay stable. And that value now is in guilders, and the land is in guilders. I mean, the land price, you know what I mean? So then you have a very stable currency that you can use. And you know what I mean? You make sure that your currency circulate and you hold the dollars as reserves. You see what I mean? And if you want to transact real estate, you have to transact it in guilders. If you do something like that, I don't see the value of your currency being affected so much. So in theory, it can work, but it takes a kind of like.
Can we as countries, St. Martin, as it's being called, maintain and sustain our own central bank?
I think it's definitely possible. You just need to have the right people. You know what I mean? And I do believe we have the right people. You know, if they're not here, gather them from 4 corners of the world and bring them. But there are people out there.
We're talking about 16 square miles, a 37 square mile island, and this side being 16 square miles. How are we gonna sustain a central bank? I mean,
how are we gonna sustain a central bank?
Yeah,
a 16 square mile island, and if you add up all the real estate values here, you ask yourself if it's really a 16 square mile island. Because if you look at the value of our real estate, it doesn't reflect the 16 square mile island, huh?
Would you say it's a $1 billion industry?
Ah, man. I want someone to just sit down one day and just calculate all these market values that we've seen, all of it, the whole inventory, and then come back to me and tell me if we are 16 square mile island.
You also mentioned that it may be speculative.
Of course, it may be speculative, but if Americans still willing to pay that price, you know what I mean? It still says something about your economy.
Well, let me ask you this question then. Why is it that our real estate on St. Martin is so sought after and so valuable? Why is that?
I would like to know myself.
What is it that we have here in St. Martin?
Okay, we have of course some tax benefits. Of course, you don't pay like in America, you don't pay gains, property tax on gains. That's one big thing. Because you know in America, if you buy for 100 and sell for 200, you're gonna pay property tax. Gains on property tax. Sorry. You're gonna pay gains on that difference that you made. You know what I mean? And you also have to pay property tax in America. So here you don't pay property tax. You don't have no capital gains taxes either. So of course it will be speculative. You know what I mean? It's easy to speculate. It's not like at the front side where you have to pay property tax. Like in Caruso, you have to pay property tax. So it keeps the speculative in check. From time you leave, less restraints on your real estate, you have to be very careful that it doesn't push out your local persons. Ideally, like in Angola, you want to have a lot of your locals own real estate, because real estate at the end of the day is where the value is at.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, okay? And I don't want you to have to call the names and stuff. Leave that for me. I will be doing the calling the names, because I want to get down to a pet peeve and a nitty-gritty that I have here that really bugs me here on St. Martin, right? When you mention 60% of the population is making below 2,500 guilders, 60% of the population. Are you saying that once you make above that 2,500 guilders, would you call that a middle class sort of earnings?
No.
What would you?
Because remember, they have it less than 2,500, but they have the range from 2,500 to 5,000.
Right.
That's also a big chunk. But you remember, if you're not making more than 5,000 guilders, really, and even 5,000 guilders is kind of slim trim sometimes when it comes to if you're looking at buying a real estate property. If you're not making more than 5,000, I mean, it's very difficult.
Okay, good. But then here comes the thing that I want to explore here in St. Martin. Who is making the money here in this country? And who has it that 60% of the population is making below 2,500 guilders?
But it's simple. It's the policies that was
by who? By whom?
Who make policies?
The government.
Well,
yeah,
but I guess there we have to look.
Okay.
Because look at this, Ollie. Sorry, Christopher. Let's say I have a business, and I know my local person. I have to pay them a certain amount based on, let's say that the policy is the minimum wage is, let's say, $10 an hour. I know it's not $10 an hour, but let's say the policy is $10 an hour. And I bring in somebody from China, whatever, on a work permit or whatever, India, whatever. You think I'm paying them $10 an hour?
No.
Why not?
There's no controls, there's no checks, all right? And why should I pay them $10 an hour when I could pay them $3?
Right. So now you get more of those people coming in. What does it do to your average cost or your average wage in the country?
It brings it down.
Correct. It does bring it down.
Yeah,
but the issue with that is when you have somebody on as V, right? And they're making, let's say, 1,000 guilders a month, At the same time, their medical costs is much more higher than, let's say they're paying 2% for medical on that 1,000 guilders. 2% cannot cover the true cost of their medical, huh? And this is one of the problems we're having. So who have to cough up the bill? The person in the higher tax bracket. But if you keep getting more people in that lower bracket, eventually you can destroy the whole economy because there is too much imbalances.
I would really like to discuss our cost of living situation that we have with the COLA and the monies we going here, cost of living adjustment. We're at the 5-minute mark. We are coming down to the last couple of minutes in the program, Emilio. And like I said, I want you to come and have a show here, not where I am interviewing you, because it's never enough time to discuss. And the people of St. Martin need to understand what this gentleman is saying. You need to see it. You need to swallow it. You need to digest this. Emilio, I am extending a courtesy to you here on SXM Talk to come and have your own program, your own show to talk about finances. So whenever you're ready, think about it and come and do it, because you will be doing a tremendous service to St. Martin, because I can talk to you for hours, Emilio, because I want to know. I want to know who's making the money here in St. Martin. I want to know why is it that 60 to 70% of the population are making less than 2,500. I want to know why is it government is not listening to the things that you're talking. I want to know why government and the policy makers are not seeing what is going on here in this country. Emilio, I'm going to give you the last minute to say whatever you want to say, and then we're going to close off the program.
Okay, let me briefly say that the COLA is problematic because, remember, not everyone in the private sector also get increase in salary like how some other companies do. So they also cause an imbalance. And cost of living is not the problem. The problem is, I say that the cost of living adjustment is not necessarily the problem, but if you make things more affordable, it's as if you're getting increasing money anyhow. If, for example, if an apple is $1, but you make an apple 50 cents, it's like you just get an increase in salary. And that's what you need to do, because remember, there's a tax implication. The more money you make, the more higher you've been taxed. We have a progressive system, so it doesn't really help.
Okay, you know, like I said, it's the last couple of minutes, but the questions keep coming in. Like I said, we have our new website up. We have a little chat box where people can send in their questions and stuff. And another question coming in, it says, are you saying that the problem is about inflation? Are you saying that inflation is causing our problem as to why the majority of the people are below 2,500?
Yeah, remember, inflation is also caused by banks, huh?
Right.
So that's one aspect. Inflation.
So we got some dubious banks on this island.
Well, that's another topic we have to discuss.
Okay. Well, St. Martin, again, you know, welcome to our new look. Welcome to our new image. This is what you're going to get. I hope you like the promo. Like I said, a lot of hard work went into it. Again, my thumbs up to my good friends over there in Stacia. We'll be doing some great work with you guys. But this is SXM Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for logging on. My good friend, my good buddy, my financial guru, Emilio Kalmera. St. Martin people, take care of yourself. God bless each and every one of you guys. Goodbye.
There was a time when people dare not utter a word. There was a time when people were in the dark and searching for accurate information. Just when all hope is lost and frustration hangs in the balance, SXM Talk emerges and broke the silence. Join host Christopher Emmanuel for live and serious discussions and hard talk.